Okay, so we're recording. Welcome, Shika, to another episode of F Designer. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Cat Williams this week because it is on everyone's mind and all over media, including social media, the main form. Did you get a chance to check out any of the Cat Williams interview with Shay, Club
I
Shay?
I did. I went to Club Shay Shay last night and watched it straight.
Oh, okay. What they had a viewing of it, or
No, it's available online. You can stream it directly from YouTube.
oh, okay, okay. Oh, you meant you went to it online.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. And did you say you're in Buffalo right now?
Yeah, I'm in Buffalo.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that sounds very cold what you were describing. So I saw most of it. I think I still have maybe about 15, 20, 25 minutes left, and I just got to the part where Shay was talking to Kat about Taraji P. Henderson talking about her pay. And he asked him what he thought about that. And every time you ask Kat a question, it's always going to be an interesting answer. He always gives a moment to think, and you just wonder what he's going to come with. And he was, just very empathetic towards her and said that he thought it was sad that she had to humble herself and talk about how she's basically been eating crow for about 10 years, not getting the pay that she deserves.
Hmm.
Um, so I was very happy that he was very supportive of her because you never know how he's going to feel about a particular person. Um, you know, maybe it's more of a question mark if they're a comedian, if they're actually in his lane. You know.
I don't know. I like to believe from what I've heard, not just this interview, but the continuum of his career. He's always he's so ethical. Like
Mhm.
he's hyper ethical.
Yeah.
Like it's just plain good sense and logic, and it just happens to be funny. He's hilarious, and that's what makes him hilarious.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And you know, and that's something that's beyond relatable. He sticks us with the ethic,
Yeah.
and and so in that, I think he's highly predictable because he's always going to tell the truth.
Right. You just never know what the truth is going to be about the person that you happen to bring up to him. Right. So that's the unpredictable part. Like, I don't know if he's ever ran into Taraji, and I just didn't know what he was going to say, or if he was going to have a take about, you know, negotiating pay, or, people have so many takes on things. I was just kind of like sitting there just wondering what he was going to say.
And well, that's the beauty of truth telling is that, and he's really smart
Yeah.
in too because where he doesn't have personal, he doesn't speculate. He'll give his a situational analysis. And I've seen
Mhm.
that everything I've ever heard him, I've ever heard him talk about, and that's how intelligent people speak.
Right. They don't just pontificate on things they don't know about and just kind of blow hot air and try to act like they know what they don't know. Yeah.
Never, never. And he's been a comedian for a very long time, and
Hmm.
I think I don't, I have never heard him do that.
Yeah.
And you know, his in his use, I mean, he's just naturally funny. He's
Yeah.
doing what he was born to do,
For
but
sure.
in that, in him being a satirical writer, he's
Hmm.
too much in the line of George Carlin and
Hmm.
prior to where, oh, you gonna get some truth serum, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate that we're in a culture now where the two previous comedians I mentioned, you know, they were relating these truths in some sense to bring light to inequities, but
Hmm.
now we're in a position where we have people like him who are more bringing light to our hypocrisy,
Hmm.
where we're clearly, enamored with untruths. We're
Right.
like deeply invested in being hoodwinked
Yeah.
about things that are happening morally or socially.
Yeah.
And he, no, 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 no.
Right. Yeah.
Case, you are nodding off a little too long. Let me wake you up.
That's funny. That no, 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 no. You just said reminded me of the way he responded to that interviewer named Wanda Smith. Do you know about that interviewer? That interviewer?
Yeah, that she kind of asked for it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
even do that. Like, have you never been to high school? There's some people in the cafeteria. They shoot a shot. All right, you got me. You just let it go.
Right. So my understanding was she shot the first shot, at least from the clip I saw. So, maybe she thought it was going to be a tete-a-tete or something, and maybe she thought it was going to be funny to go back and forth to show that she could hang with him. I don't know what she thought, but it did not go her way. And then did you hear what happened afterwards? The
Oh, she
whole
got.
melee? Hmm?
You mean when she got fired?
Well, I didn't know she got fired, but something else happened after the interview. Um,
Oh, when he got robbed. That.
um, yeah, I didn't know it was a robbery, but long story short, her husband, um, took a gun out on Cat Williams. I guess he was offended by the interview or something. So yeah, her husband took a gun out on Cat Williams.
I didn't know it was her husband, and he no, I did not know that, and he did address that situation on the interview. I don't know if you got to see that part, um, and the way that he told the story, which I mean I don't know for certain, but I certainly believe is true because you know non-journalists posing as journalists do this all the time, where they lure people in, they get them comfortable in interviews and
Mm.
kind of you know digging, in that tip.
Hmm.
But and that's just in poor taste. I mean, forget poor comedy. That's just in poor taste.
It's poor taste and it's unethical, right? Like she lied to him and said, "We're not going to talk about this, this, and that. We're going to focus on this positive stuff." And then he says, as soon as they get in there, she starts in on the stuff that doesn't have to do with his work or what he wanted to talk about.
Right. Like,
And then she must have said something about his size because the clip that I saw, he that's where the clip that I saw is today. I've seen longer before, but the first thing you hear Katz say is, "I don't think you want to talk about size," and then he goes in. So she must have made some kind of short joke or something like that, and then he went in.
that's just
And
eating fruit. Like, I teach kindergartners and first graders who could come up with a better, like,
yeah,
or like,
yeah, she definitely seemed like she was not trying to engage in any kind of highbrow conversation. And then I think once he was getting at her, like she just felt she had to keep engaging or defend. But like you said, Kat is brilliant, but he's also hilarious. So how are you gonna go against that? Like you're out of your element. You're gonna get fried in front of the whole class or in front of the whole school or lunchroom. Like it was just there was nothing she could do except stop, which she did not do.
oh,
Her coworker just laughed and enjoyed the situation. And then I don't know where her husband was. I don't know if he was in the studio somewhere or if he accosted Kat right outside of the studio. But yeah, that's the thing.
that's crazy. Like the first time I saw it, as I'm watching it, I couldn't even laugh because again, anyone who's ever sat in a black cafeteria,
Yeah,
you know, nothing good is gonna come out. So I'm kind of watching like, ooh, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah, maybe she thought it was like her show, and she had some kind of control. Like I don't know what she thought, but that was, I mean, from ambushing him to from making him upset to getting what she got, and then like Kat says, he will get you, but he won't call you out of your name. You know, he kept it professional, but he was hilarious, but he also just roasted her. So maybe that combination just really got the husband like I don't know, like, but you know, your wife is she must have some kind of success if she's interviewing someone of Katt's caliber. So to put your wife's whole business and um even your independence you know at risk like
Right.
that is wild to me. I don't know why
It
someone would do that and why he had a gun on him in the first place unless he was at home and brought the gun to the you know to the place. It's all kind of wild to me.
all foolishness. Like
Yeah.
all I don't think I have one family member who upholds me in foolishness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they let anything bad happen to me, but
Right.
it's
Was that why she got fired?
no, no, I believe she made some anti LGBTQ uh
Oh, okay.
sometime after that in that.
Oh, you know what? Kat addressed that too. I forgot about that. So Kat said that she was using one of those words. She was using the word gay in a derogatory, um, derogatory, yeah, in a derogatory way towards Kat. So that must be part of what he was talking about. I don't know how long afterwards that happened, but sounds like one bad um, uh, series of mistakes after another.
It is. I mean, some fruit you don't reach for on a tree.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
just it'll fall when it's time to fall, or you just let it go for next season. I know. Um, it's certainly an interesting market to be taking certain risks in, and
yeah,
I think you some things you just don't get that some shots you don't take, um,
yeah.
and those were like crazy rookie moves. Like I'm not that's not my industry. I don't know anything about it, but I know I've sat in rooms where you know clearly belong in the room, but I'm not the smartest person. And so
Mhm. Yeah.
and so I know my lane. I know when it's my time to speak. I know kind of what to say, and other times I'll fall back.
I mean, your husband accosting a guest who, not only any guest, but you know, a guest who's well loved and very famous with a gun. I mean, that's not even a rookie move. That's like, I wouldn't even call that amateur hour. That's just like a thug move. Like you. I mean, it seems like you don't even belong in the room. Like I just don't know.
Oh, that part. Well, I
That's
mean,
wild.
we don't know the particulars of that, and
I guess we don't.
I don't. That to me, that's the equivalent of the Will Jada Chris Rock triangle. Like, who should have stopped who, or who should have said who to what, or whatever. Who knows? Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you're right. There's always something more to it, but like, you know, unless there's something we really don't know. I mean, sure, like with Will, I can empathize with him being frustrated that he feels like Chris has been taking shots at his wife for a long time, you know, going back years. But the end result of that, it's hard to really justify that. It's like if listen, if you're gonna take it to that level, you can do it off screen, you know. You can do it mano y mano. So it's you know some things are just kind of hard to justify. I mean, if you're going to take shots from a comedian on your show and you interview comedians, I mean, like you said, it's we don't know what happened wherever they were. I don't know if they were in a parking lot or right in front of the building. Uh, how the aggression kind of like built up. Maybe there was something there that that made the husband feel threatened in some way. We don't know, but it's pretty wild. Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, how do you feel about some of what he was saying about some of those comedians, specifically Cedric, who I think maybe took some of the heaviest shots?
uh, I mean, the intimate details of how they conduct their business, we'll never know for sure. But I will say, so it's believable. A lot of what he said is highly, highly believable. He follows a very tight chronology. It
Yep.
all these are all very easily checkable
Research.
facts,
Exactly. Exactly. You could research that easily.
except for the 300 books, and
Uh,
that's the
well,
only.
excuse me. It wasn't 300 books. 300 books would have been very hard to believe. He said 3,000
Oh
books
my
a
bad.
year, which I did the math, and that's 8 books a day.
Nope.
Which I'm going to turn that into a joke. Hopefully, a clever one. But
Uh,
yeah, that's 8 books a day.
Unless it's like those 6-page joints. My kids used to like my students. We have this program. Every teacher
Hey,
taught literature laughed really hard at that. So,
if there are books that are only 8 pages, I don't. I mean, I might call that's shorter than a leaflet. Um,
but they're
do they
com-
actually call those books?
they do, and here's why. And so I was gonna say, any teacher who's ever taught literature or literacy or writing laughs real hard at that because we have to measure these levels of how much kids are reading and the quality of what they're reading. So
Okay.
kind of estimate their lexile to so they can move to the next grade. They,
Okay.
they measure this now. It's far more computerized, but back in the day, obviously it wasn't. And but now it's mechanized. So a 6-page book is a book, and
Okay.
it's countable. And so the kids was like I had 8th graders who would get all of these 6-page books to because they needed to reach a certain point level by the end of the marking period.
Right.
I
And
read that.
does this include fiction, or are these more instructional, or
And see, and that's another thing. They're um subjectively subjective. Like technically,
hmm.
it's nonfiction, but it's a 6-page book told in like first grade language, and
But
so
like, what would like an example of a book be about? Would it be about counting? Would it
and
be about
I'm not saying this to disparage what he's saying.
yeah,
I'm telling you about
yeah?
class culture. They could be about anything, but it could be a narrative, but it's about a practical skill, or it could
Oh,
be
okay.
a narrative that's has some sort of moral, but it's speculative fiction, and so it's counted as a folk tale or whatever. Or it could be about
I
a
would I would love to get into writing these books so I could tell people I've written hundreds of
I
books.
edit, so I edit these for a living. That's a whole other conversation.
You edit those?
I do DEI
Oh,
editing,
okay.
cultural analysis.
Okay.
It's crazy. I would love to talk about that one day. But
Yeah.
at any rate, they count as books. And the kids, they're mad short. Some of them, even the ones that are longer, like the 25-page ones, you can read in
hmm
5 minutes. But they're
hmm
well as books. Now, I'm not saying that's what he did or what he read, but
Shika, so I'm gonna have to tell you something. I think that you actually just helped Cat out because there is no way in hell that I mean, unless he's in the Guinness Book of World's Records, literally for speed reading. And I know there's people who can read fast,
yeah.
but if the average book is at least 150 pages or so, and you're telling me he was reading 8 of these a day, that's just, I mean, he should be the head of Mensa plus in the Guinness Book of World Records
Well,
because that's wild.
in his favor too. I mean, the man camped out at libraries for some years during the day. And I don't know if you know anything about the culture of live public libraries. You technically, if you've ever dealt with homeless populations and library
Hmm.
homeless, how homeless people spend their day.
Yeah.
I did that for a couple years in New York City. Didn't you do that too?
Uh, be homeless and camp out in front of libraries in New York City.
Homeless. I mean, didn't you deal with homelessness diversion or homelessness research?
No, my friend, wait, actually, wait, let me think. Did I accompany him? No, well, I had a friend who did that actually. Yeah, he organized with me when we were organizing workers, and then he went on to assist, um, people experiencing homelessness in New York City. Yeah.
So you know that technically they can't go to sleep in the library.
Okay. I
And
did not, but
well, now you know, like in New York City, they
yeah.
can't sleep there, but like if they not out or if they like find a place, it's easier to do in bigger libraries. And New York City has huge ones. But
Okay.
he spent a significant amount of time basically living in the library when he was in, I believe he said California or Ohio. I can't remember, but
Maybe Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
And, but the point is, if he's there and he has to stay awake, you're already looking at a young man who is super intelligent, highly literate at a young age, and he literally has to be in a library all day. I mean,
I'm still having trouble believing someone can read 8 books in a day, no matter how smart or how long. I mean, basically, he told us. I think he did like about 8 hours a day there, and then he would spend time making money illegally. He said at one point he was making $2,000 a day. Forgot if he said he was jacking car
our sound system,
engines or something, or
sound
yeah,
system.
so oh, sound systems. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Yeah. So I mean, but either way, what I'm trying to say is I think you're actually helping him out because that makes a lot more sense to me.
That
Yeah.
mathing for me, like it
Mhm.
is. Like I can see that. I can see if we're going back. Okay, let's think chronologically. Since we're here,
Yeah.
go deep.
Yeah.
If we're looking at sound systems that were popular in that area in the early '90s, late '80s, hell yeah,
Mhm.
see him making that much money. He could turn into a three and make 2K.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, I didn't even think to question the $2,000 a day. I was just questioning the 8 books a day. But I'm
Yeah,
saying I think you're helping him out by saying they could have been 8 page, they could have been 6 page books. Some of
they,
them. I'm not saying they were all 6 page books. Some of them could have been 25. Maybe throw in a full size book in there every once in a while. That was a good day. To Ice Cube today was a good day. He read a 150 to 250 page book in one day, plus those 7 other 6 page books. I mean,
uh,
that's still a lot of knowledge. That's still good, and that's still better than what a lot of people are out there doing. And he is, very intelligent.
I'm almost done with a doctorate. Like I've been in school my whole life.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's
I
the most? What's the most amount of books you've ever read in a day?
hate -3.
Yeah.
Tell my students that like
Yeah.
sometimes I be struggling. Like I just be nodding out,
Yeah.
or especially, and this is crazy because I teach literacy, right? I teach all of this stuff, but
Yeah.
I was the first to admit, like um, the analysis is sets me on fire. But sometimes, depending on the writer, I be struggling. It's like, come on.
Some of it's boring. Some of it takes a long time to get to the meat of the story. Some of them take a long time to explore all the details of the way the city looks and the way the building looks and all that stuff. And it's like,
It's wild, and
yeah,
I'm critical. So like you need to come with it. And a lot of the modern writers are just, I know, not to be elitist. It's so much garbage because it's so easy to be published now.
Oh yeah.
And
Sounds like music.
right, and not that I want the gatekeeping
Right.
to return, because it leaves out people like me, kinda.
Right.
But but it but at the same time, just because it's easy to produce, don't produce garbage.
Right.
Like, I spend a lot of time on social media looking at these micro publishing companies and the things that people are making, and it's an exciting and a scary time. Um,
Mm.
because our culture is suffering. The Let me back it up.
Okay.
The culture of education is suffering because the we've put a lot of investment into policing a moral ethic that's laughable, you
Mm.
know and that's where we get into this whole thing of book banning. That's where that comes from, some made up ethic, from a made up history, and the fear of a real history and a real ethic coming into.
Right. A lot of that's kind of like politically motivated and taking advantage of people who are open to that kind of stuff, right? And using that
Yeah,
base to your advantage.
it's all it is. That's all it is. It's all it's
Yeah.
ever been, really.
Right. Right. Right.
Know, what they've used to their advantage is potentially coming to bite them, because you have a more broadly educated and diversely educated group who's going to take what you gave them and throw it back at you.
Hmm.
I was like, well, let's shut that down. And
Right.
so instead of using the tools we have to our advantage to fill that, like to voraciously fill that gap in very creative ways, you know it's just, it's fast fashion.
Oh
but
yeah.
but we do it in media,
Right.
and it's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Because I don't know if on the consumer side we're that savvy of a consumer.
Yeah. Some of us get more savvy, and we learn when we get burned. Right. Like I picked up a book that hadn't necessarily heard of, was kind of surfing through Amazon. Forgive me for supporting the devil, but was surfing through Amazon and picked up a book on one of the outlaws, right? And I had read great books on Tupac, a couple of them, one by Michael Eric Dyson,
Mm.
another by another author. And so I picked up this book, kind of read through the little blurb a little bit, and this book was so awful that I didn't read much of it. I mean, this book was written so badly that it would have been a good example to have your students at least attempt to read it and then critique it on all the ways in which it was bad, and like how to avoid bad writing. Like that's how bad it was. It was so bad that I felt bad about giving it away and had to think about who I was going to give it to so I wouldn't feel bad about giving them a bad book to read. Like that's how horrible it was. But then, of course, then I did my research after I got burned, and then I looked again at the person's credentials, and they had something on Facebook, and they had like some little thing that they said they wrote for. At the end of the day, it was like some made up online publication or something. So they never really were published before. They never really wrote for anything. It was kind of like the equivalent of padding your resume, except you think this person's an author and they're writing about one of your favorite subjects, and it was just horrible. So I, wrote up some wrote up a little thing to warn others to never buy this book.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. It does make it hard to sort of get credentialed too,
Mm.
and because there's such a deluge of writers who can easily self credential.
Yeah.
And if you're a burgeoning writer, sucks for you, and you're good, and you don't.
Oops.
It's okay, and you don't belong to the academia club, or you know any other sort of venue that would kind of close that gap for you, you're in the pot with all the Wahoos.
Yeah, I guess at that point, the most you can hope is that someone can take a look, with a critical eye and be like, I don't know who this person is, but this is worthy. This is great.
Yeah, that's
Um,
because
yeah,
there's things to. There's so many. It's such an over. Can you hold for? I'm sorry.
yeah. I can hold for a sec. We'll pause for a second. I'm gonna grab a water real quick. I lied. I went with mint lavender sparkling tea instead of water.
That sounds divine.
Yeah, it's got a hint of hops.
Ew. So I can't even imagine what that tastes like.
Really, it doesn't really have a strong taste. I mean, it's mint lavender, so you could taste the mint a little bit, and it just tastes like a little bit of bubbly. Like it almost tastes like a seltzer water with a little more flavor.
Because I don't like beer, the taste of beer. So
Yeah,
anytime I hear, or I don't like malted flavors at all. And so anytime I hear anything with hops or malt or something, unless it's like vinegar or soy sauce,
yeah,
I
yeah.
want.
No, hops is. I don't know. I guess this isn't very. Yeah, it's not definitely no vinegar, no soy sauce taste.
No, it wouldn't. It
Yeah,
wouldn't for that.
yeah. All right, so yeah, I think this is a good place to end. Do you feel good about ending here?
No, this works. Like, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, let's plan on what we want to do next time. I feel like we might have had a few ideas in this. You might have like brought up the some of the work that you do editing stuff, or maybe something else will come up before next week.
I mean, I'm under like these are big publishers, and I'm under NDA as a freelancer, so I
Okay.
speak generally about it,
Hmm.
not in particular of some things, but
Yeah, I gotcha.
cool.
Sounds good. All right. Well, enjoy your weekend. And I guess keep this tab open so we can until it says that the recording's been fully downloaded or whatever.
All right, you too.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.